Planning a wedding comes with timelines, trends, expectations, and a whole lot that couples never see coming. We're two wedding planners pulling back the curtain on what really happens behind I Do. Each week on Behind I Do, we bring you real talk about real weddings, timelines, trends, the wins, and the what ifs. From the smooth as silk celebrations to the did that actually just happen moments, we're sharing the stories, lessons, and insider knowledge that help couples plan with confidence and maybe even laugh along the way. Whether you're a bride, groom, vendor, or wedding lover at heart, this is your backstage pass to the world of weddings, told candidly, graciously, and with the expertise only seasoned planners can offer. Grab your coffee, your planning binder, and your confetti, and join us behind I Do. All right, episode 10, Family Dynamics and Wedding Boundaries.
Spicy one.
All the drama. All right, so the first part of this is when parents are paying, which is, I think pretty common, a pretty traditional thing that a lot of parents, if they're able to, want to and want to help. So I think, again, this kind of goes back into our last episode of like in the beginning talking, a lot of this will kind of relate to that, talking through budgets and that kind of stuff, but like deciding like who gets a say. Like obviously, most importantly, the couple should have the most say. But I think having those conversations with like your parents and your family or whoever is involved in paying, who's planning, and kind of who is getting to make some of these calls. So, I think too, some of our parents that we get to work with, they're like, this is what we're giving you. Not that they don't care, but they're like, you make the decisions. Whereas others, I have a lot of moms that come to almost every meeting. So I think just having those conversations and like talking through like, family traditions, if there's cultural things that, must take place, or family standards. Like we've had some weddings where it's like the parents really are like, you're doing plated dinner. So like having those conversations of like, okay, that's great. We'll do plated dinner, but like, obviously that's going to be more expensive. So just kind of having those conversations. Full bar is another one. Like some parents are very opinionated on like guests should not have to pay for a drink. So just again, having those conversations of do they even get a say? Because are they helping pay? Or like, we were talking earlier, like, are they only giving you like $10,000, which is a lot of money, but is that, $10,000 going straight to the catering? And so it's like, okay, they get all the say with food,
with catering decisions
and nowhere else. Like,
yeah, just prioritizing that in the beginning is just going to help set you up for success for the planning process. And understanding, hopefully you've been together, you understand the family dynamics with your spouse and their mom and your spouse and their dad, and just being able to really be clear from the beginning. This is who's going to be involved in decision making. This is who should look over quotes. This is who we're going to give the final say to. And is that your parent? Is that your spouse? Is that you two as a couple have to be on the same page? Because having those early conversations really prevent a lot of headache down the line. And like just asking, I think most specifically it's your parents, but maybe it's your aunt and uncle or someone who's wanting to pay. Like, how involved do you want to be? How much do you care about what the flowers look like? And just getting a feel for
what's important to them.
Because most parents will have a few things that are important to them, but the rest of it, they kind of want you to do.
Yeah.
Or you'll have a mom that's like a best friend and they're like, everything's important to me. Like I'm reliving my wedding.
Yeah.
I want to make all the decisions.
They want to be at all the planning meetings. Yeah.
Yeah. So all are great. And any, family involvement is so amazing, but it's just learning how to work with those dynamics. So starting those conversations early.
And I think too, especially because like I said, in our initial meeting, like I asked those questions, like who's involved in the planning, who's helping pay, like, and it's not, and I think sometimes couples think it's they're like a judgmental thing. And it's like, no, like for us as a planner, it's so good for us to know like who's going to be involved. Like, oh, I have one right now where both moms come to every single meeting and it's so great. But like even them alone, their personalities, mom to mom, are very different. And even then the bride's very different. So it's like good for us to know what the dynamic is leading into a planning process, because it kind of helps us figure out, like, again, who gets to make a say, like who at the end of the day gets to make the final call, or like who doesn't get to, so that we know like, oh, okay, that's great. But you know what I mean? Like kind of just really helps your planner also when they have a better idea of like who's involved and what the family dynamics are.
And I think one of our biggest intentions of asking that question too is helping our bride and grooms think about that, because they likely may have not even considered the dynamics of their parents before they called us. And so it helps also put that into their heads, like, oh, I didn't think that if my mom is paying, maybe we should have her be at these meetings,
Right.
or we should do these things.
Include her.
I think it's a good thing to just sit with for a little bit and try to figure out what that's going to look like in your wedding planning process.
100%. Yeah. And then, I mean, as far as like what's reasonable when like parents are paying and how that kind of looks, I mean, I don't know. I think that's such like a tricky question because I think it depends again on like you, on your family dynamics, on like financial situations, on lifestyle. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if my mom wanted to give me $10,000, I'd be like thrilled. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot of money. So I think I think what's reasonable depends on the situation and like what your parents or whoever's giving you money is comfortable with, or, you know, again, like kind of just what that looks like dynamic wise. So I don't know. It's like some parents are like Ali was saying are like best friends and they're like want to be fully involved and fully like financially invested and like all these things. And that's great. Where some are like, I only have $5,000 to give you. Like
do with it what you want.
Yeah.
And that too is such a good thing to know when when you have that budget conversation that we talked about in our last episode. What does that look like? Are they giving you a blank check for an X amount, or is it like we will book vendors as they come in and we want to know who they are and what they have to offer and what food selections you made? So all of those are going to depend on what's reasonable. And at the end of the day, it has to feel reasonable to you and your partner getting married. Yeah. Because what feels reasonable to us, even from Jaden to myself, is going to look so different with what choices we give our parents and what choices we keep for ourselves. So I think you just have to take this to heart and like sit with it and make sure that it feels good for you and your partner. Yeah.
And I think, again, just like step by step when you're booking things, I mean, like we said, you need to have like a realistic budget, but then as you're booking things, like, yeah, if that seems like not reasonable and it's like one of these vendors is like way more than you like envision paying for like a photographer, then like having those conversations of like, that's not reasonable. I don't want to use, the budget that mom and dad gave us all on one vendor or something. So I think just, again, sitting back with it and kind of really being realistic.
And just, this is one of the harder parts of wedding planning, I think, is the family dynamics that come into play all throughout your wedding day, but especially in the months leading up to your wedding. Your family can kind of make or break your planning process, and you have to decide like how much you're going to let it affect you. Yeah. But I do think if you're planning your wedding right now at home and you're really stressed out because your mother-in-law has a lot of input, or your mom's bugging you, or whoever it is, like, know that you're not alone, because this is a very common problem.
And I do think that's a thing where it's like again, I think having us there helps, but I think having that conversation with your spouse, again, this is what marriage is about, and having those tough conversations and being like, look, like, I know your mom really wants to be involved and I appreciate it. However, like, it's really stressing me out, or it's really frustrating me. And I think being comfortable with your spouse and having those conversations now, like, there was a couple that the mom was so heavily involved and like not always in the most helpful way. Like, we would even like the bride and I would meet early just so we could get through things before the mom would show up. And it's just, and I would just always tell her, it's like, having these conversations with your groom now is going to make your marriage so much better. Like, just think about when you start having kids, and like, you need to set these boundaries now, and you can do that in a nice way. So I think just like having those conversations with your significant other so that it doesn't just like derail all your wedding planning and make you miserable.
Yeah. For a year or for the rest of your marriage. Like, there are family dynamics that blow up over wedding planning and probably never recover.
Right. And speaking of that, like, not to like call grooms out, but like, grooms, if you're listening, or, significant others, give this to your spouse if this is them, like the ones where they're like, well, that's just like how my mom is, and she's been like that my whole life, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, stand up for your significant other, like, help them, like, be that voice in between them, because that makes your spouse or significant other so uncomfortable. It's like, they don't want to be mean to your parent, but it's like, don't, like, I've seen so many, and it usually is grooms, that it's like their mother-son relationship. And it's like, they're just like, that's, they don't want to get involved. They don't want to cause drama. They don't want to hurt their mom's feelings. And it's like, we're not asking you to hurt their feelings, but like stand up for your significant other and support them and be like,
a united front.
Yes. And be like, Mom, we really appreciate your help. However, like, can you just like take a step back and like let her make this decision or let him make this decision or whatever it is. I think that's sometimes the hardest part is when the groom is just like, just is what it is.
Yeah. Also with this, even though this is slightly off topic, but like for your, you know, bridegroom, bride, whatever it is, like both of you need to like initially in these conversations also like understand who's going to be planning what and like be okay with that. Like we do have brides that plan their entire wedding and the groom shows up and it's like
the rehearsal
didn't know anything. And like, if that's okay with you and that's how you want it. And for a lot of relationships, this might be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Like just know that like this is a time where resentment can build. And if you don't have those conversations of like, hey, I need you to be like an equal partnering planner, or I need you to help me plan for the DJ and get all the music set, you know, like give them some
you're
jobs.
in charge of the bar, like find a bar and book it.
Yeah. Because I think this is too where just the whole dynamics of wedding planning gets stressful because one person takes the majority of the weight of the planning. And then say it's the bride, which it typically is, then she's also taking on like
the family,
your mother-in-law dynamics and trying to balance her friends not getting hurt by asking them. Like there's so many dynamics going on right now that the most helpful thing you can do as a spouse is to ask, what do you need me to do? Or what can I take off your plate to lighten your load?
Yeah. I mean, because there's so many times, and again, not to call the grooms out. It's like, well, they asked and like, I did my job. And it's like, okay, well, you did, but like,
but can you do more?
Yeah. Like support. Cause I mean, like we've said, I mean, we all know planning a wedding is stressful. And when your significant other is not supporting you, like, which, and again, in some A-type brides are like, I don't need them. And it's like, I'm very A-type, but I was very much like when we planned my wedding, that's what I did with I still made my husband come to things, like come to vendor meetings, be involved. Did he always get to have a say? No, maybe not. But like, he still like knew what was going on. And I just think that's like so important.
Yeah.
To include them. And it just makes, I think if you're the person doing the majority of the planning, it makes you feel a little better that like, they at least were somewhat involved versus like you're doing everything and going to every meeting. And it's just, it can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah. So side note,
there's our little tidbit about that.
Little tidbit about equal planning. And we just want to talk about like where to draw the line with family dynamics, especially. I think kind of like we talked about with you and your spouse being on the same page is going to help you guys be a united front to stand up against things that you don't want to happen at your wedding. Yeah. Or to just politely shut things down with family. And I think there's definitely times where you're going to have to step on toes and say things that maybe don't make everyone happy, but if you're together in it and you guys are like, we agreed to this is how we plan.
This is our wedding.
Ongoing. This is our wedding and we're so grateful for all your help, but this is what we've decided. I think it comes off better than like pigeoning someone and blaming it. And there can just be so much kind of within that.
And I think, and like we've said, like going through, like say parents are, you know, like plated dinners are important or the open bar is very important. Having those conversations of like, okay, great. Then those are the areas that yes, you can have you can have a say in because you're like paying that part. But like, you know, say they are only paying for food, but you guys are paying for the open bar. Like, you know, having those boundaries of like, okay, well, we're drawing a line here. You get to decide kind of and go to the food tasting and make those decisions. But as far as bar, we're going to decide what the signature drinks are. We're going to decide what's being served
and how much,
because we're paying for it.
Yeah. I think that helps too. Like if you have parents that want to be really like assertive, I think it's good to, if they do give you that open, you know, we're giving you $25,000, assign that $25,000 to categories where you can help pigeon them in their budget into what
they have a say in.
Yeah, what they have a say in. And then the things that aren't included in that, it just helps draw the line of like, this was what you guys helped me pay for. Thank you so much. These are the decisions you can make. We're over here dealing with floral and making design decisions because we're paying for that portion of our wedding. So it helps give everyone kind of like a clear role of what they get to do. People feel really involved because they got to make the decisions. They got to go to the food tasting. It's like a win-win for everyone there.
And again, or if they're giving you like a lump sum and they just want to be involved, but they don't really want to like necessarily make decisions. Like, I still think it's great to include them in everything. But again, like we keep saying, just like have these conversations with your parents and like, and whoever's paying, and like being clear on like, again, who gets to make a say in what.
Yeah. And I think within that too, like keeping the communication lines open, and just, I don't think people understand how much it means to some, like asking your grandma to go wedding dress shopping with you. Like, even though maybe she's not paying or like helping, but just keeping people involved in small ways where it's not like going to derail a planning meeting, or we do not want everyone at your planning meetings, but like there's both cake tasting.
Both moms is enough.
Like, everyone can go to your cake tasting and give you an input. You could have 10 people and it'd be such a fun event.
Yeah. And the bar tasting.
Bar tasting, great idea. Control. Bring as many people as you can. Make them feel included. Like, help them feel like they had a say. But the finer details, and when you're going through contracts and looking at pricing and things like that, that's not the time to include everyone.
No, please don't.
Please don't.
All right. So that's kind of like when parents are paying. Now, I mean, the next big thing is, I mean, the guest list war, which I feel like even between the couple can sometimes be tricky, because it's like, you know, again, we kind of talked about this last episode too. Like, I have a really large family, my husband doesn't. Like, so where, you know, that can be a war of like, okay, well, you're like 75% of our guest list. Like, I have 20 people coming. Like, so I think just that can add some drama dynamics to it. But I think usually it's like what we see a lot is the parents, like, you know, mom added 47 people and you're just like, who are these people? And I think just, again, that depends on dynamics and expectations and setting those early. And again, if like your parents are paying for everything, have you set the expectation that they can make that decision, that they get to decide how many people are coming and they're okay with an increased like rental and catering budget? Like, but again, I think that's, again, dynamic too. Like, some, you know, parents and their kids have great relationships and they know all their parents' friends and they want them all to come. But we've also had some where it's like, you know, the mom and dad are inviting all their friends and work friends, and it's like they don't know half of them. So, which in my opinion sounds terrible. Like, I would hate to look out and see 47 people I don't even know when there were 5 people I would have loved to include, but I couldn't because
they took those spots. Yeah.
So I think, again, that's just setting the expectation and like, what are you guys okay with? And again, to prevent that war, I think I would really set that expectation again early with your parents of like, again, like we talked about, like, have I ever met this person? Like, are they heavily involved in my life? Like, mom, I don't need like your sister's best friend's cousin to come to my wedding. Like,
yeah, so I think this gets, just tangent, but gets kind of crazy with plus ones.
Yes.
Because we see this a lot with like mom's friends plus ones, like maybe they're not married or like, and then they bring like these, like their neighbor, like just the weirdest stories.
We've had
like,
it. Like,
oh, who are you? And they're like, oh, I'm, you know, the groom's mom's friend's sister. Like, you're like, oh, nice to meet you. And in my head, I'm like,
yeah,
how did they make
it? That's weird.
Yeah. So also like not assigning plus ones to people that maybe aren't in a committed relationship. Like, there's so many ways to kind of keep this guest list small.
And I do think another little tangent that I just want to, like, I always tell my couples, like, at the end of the day, like, reminding our couples, like, this is your wedding. Like, unfortunately, you're gonna step on toes. You're gonna hurt feelings at some point in this process. And you have to decide what areas you're okay with, because at the end of the day, like, it's your wedding. So it's like, I think some people are just so worried about like, well, yeah, but like, I want to give them a plus one because I don't know if they'll know anyone, or, you know, I'm worried about like transportation, and now we got to provide transportation for everybody and then like hotel blocks, are they going to be able to, and I always tell people, like, people are adults. Like, they will figure it out. And at the end of the day, like, adding all these plus ones of people you don't know is, again, increasing your rentals, increasing your catering budget, increasing your bar. Like, you have to stop to some extent worrying about hurting people's feelings, because, you know, if you're inviting 150 people, like, you're more than likely going to upset somebody. You're not going to be able to invite certain people. Like, just do what feels right to you guys. And if that means, like Ali said, if you are not married, you don't get to have a plus one. Like, or whatever, or you haven't been in a committed relationship for, you know, X period of time. Like, I just think it's okay to make those decisions and like not have to worry so much about offending people.
Yeah. And like, you're going to deal with people who you didn't invite a +1 that asked for one or something down the line too. So I do think giving yourself leeway for that, knowing that like there's going to be weird requests and things that are going to come up too. So
And
also hoping that the people that like are, if they are offended or whatever, and they want to like bring it up to you, they likely will. So, people always, we get a lot of kid drama with no kids being invited. But then you get like aunt and uncle who are flying in from California and they don't have any babysitters. So then they are like, well, we need to bring our kids or we can't come. So you run into these problems later after you set your guest list that you're going to have to deal with anyway. Yeah. So I think it's good to start like a strong guest cap list, start a united front of like, we're going to allow kids, we're not going to allow kids, we're going to allow +1s, we're not going to allow +1s.
Stick together. And even like I have with the kid thing, like even at my wedding, like I only allowed kids, which a lot of our couples do this, like that are our siblings' kids. So like our nieces and nephews, like that was it.
Yeah.
Like we didn't open it past that. And like some people are like, well, like what if like my cousin gets upset because like I allowed my sister to bring her kid, but she didn't get to bring, and it's just like, at the end of the day, like it sounds so bad, but you have to stop caring because it's just like your sister should get, priority over your cousin. Like your niece and nephew should get priority to come to your wedding over your cousin, like your second cousins. Like, just like, and I think like Ali said, like having that united front of like, this is what we're doing, this is what we're sticking to, and just be okay with it.
Yes, 100%. We have a few tips for how to say no kindly. One of our favorite for no kids is parents' night out. Because people are like, how do I say no kids? Like, I don't want to just like put no kids. And so I always say like parents' night out, like take the night off.
Yeah, come enjoy the night off with us.
Something kind of sweet that implies do not bring your children to this wedding.
Which, and I don't know, I mean, coming from a planner perspective, like, which some people may hate me for saying this, but I just don't think a wedding is a place for kids. Like I just remember for my wedding, it was just like, yeah, but they all just want to see you in your dress and like you'll just look like a princess. And I'm like, none of them are going to remember.
Age comes into play here a lot.
If they're all under 5, like, and even like I think about my 4-year-old now, like if I got invited to a wedding, I wouldn't bring her. Yeah. Like, because I'm like, I would want to go have fun. And it's like, everyone's dancing and drinking. And like, it's, most weddings are pretty nice. And it's like to have like a 4-year-old who you can't always predict what they're going to do. It's just, I don't know. I just think and like Ali said, it's going to affect some people. And like some of our couples, it's like, I know that if we don't allow kids, like these people aren't going to be able to come. And they're like, but we're okay with that. And I just think you need to decide if you're okay with that.
Making those decisions.
Yeah. We already hit our max guest count. And
it's a good one.
And something we've talked about too, like, which again, I think was in our last one, but both our venues had like a max, like we couldn't go over a certain. So that's honestly, I remember having conversations with a lot of like friends that was just like, so sorry, like I can't invite everyone. Like we have a max guest count. I have a lot of family, like.
And this can be a made up max guest count
like
in your brain with your spouse. This doesn't have to be set by your venue by any means. And it can be a budget constraint. Like, we only have enough funds to pay for 130 people. So that is our max guest count. But it just gives you an out that's really easy. That you're just like, oh, we hit our max guest count. Like, so sorry. Yeah. We'd love to have you there, but we'll have to celebrate after.
Yeah. And I think too, going back to like parent then involvement and like how to kindly say no to them. I think that's the other aspect of how to kindly say no when it comes to the guest count war is like, again, like we've keep saying it, but having these conversations before and just like having you and your partner being on the same page and just like respectfully being like, I don't know that person, or remember, like we really wanted to keep it 120. And so by adding these 10 other people, like this is where it's going to put us. And, or with the parents, I'm so grateful you're like helping us, but like, X, Y, and Z is like, that's making me like not comfortable because I don't know those people. And like, I just would really I'd prefer not to have all those people at my wedding because I don't know them. Yeah. Just like having those, like, like we said, you don't need to be mean, but just like voicing your opinions and, again, having your spouse on the same page as you is going to be super helpful, especially with parents. Yes. So grooms. No, I'm just kidding.
The final component of all this that we kind of want to talk about today was like the emotional layer of wedding planning and how it is like when you research the top like 5 most stressful things in life, like divorce, planning a wedding, getting a new job, having a kid, moving. Like, weddings are at the top of the list. They're very stressful for so many different reasons. And so we always like to just, acknowledge it and be aware of it, because emotions are going to come up. And whether it's yours or your parents or your siblings, you're going to have a lot of opinions and emotions being projected onto you at this point in your planning process that you're going to have to like address and deal with. And the other like emotional thing that we see a lot is like acknowledgement of like losing people. So grandparents, parents,
friends,
like we've had a lot of,
I mean, we've had it all. Like, I mean, I feel like this last year we had a handful that like one of the parents had passed away, and like, I mean, they were like young couples. So, I mean, it's like in a very emotional thing, and just like it brings up, even if it's, you know, been a year or two, it brings up that emotion of like, my mom's not, excuse me, going to be here to help me pick out my dress, or my dad's not here to walk me down the aisle. Like, I think that's just another big thing to like, I think accept and, like Alex said, acknowledge and be okay and like kind of sit in it a little, because I don't think it's something that just should get brushed over. And again, also if you have a planner, like letting them know these things like ahead of time, just like, I mean, because there's been so many times I had to put my foot in my mouth and be like asking about like the dad and all these things. And they're like, oh, my dad died. And I had no idea. And it's like, and then I get sad and I don't want to make them cry, but it's like having those early conversations with everybody in the family and vendors that are supporting, and telling your vendors these things so that like early on we can like adjust our verbiage, adjust how we say things, just
and like add space at your wedding for really sweet.
Yes.
We've had the most adorable ways to like remember them.
Remember like, like memory tables. Like, yeah. But I think, it's good to, and we've also had a lot of couples that like don't want to talk about it. Like I had a bride who her mom was in an accident, unexpectedly passed away, and it hadn't been that long. And it was a very, like, she didn't want to like have conversations about it, and that's okay. We don't need to dive into it, but like, it's good for us to know. But I think on a couple level, it's good for you to acknowledge it. And like, I mean, in some ways, like cry about it a little and like talk through it and verbalize those feelings. Because I think if you don't do that early in the planning process, it is going to get more emotional and harder as the day approaches, because it's going to be more real that they're not there. And then you just like shoved it down. And so I just think it will help you to like, in a way, embrace the emotion of losing people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are obviously not the fun parts of the emotional layer, but also like the control issues that come within it is like, usually it's, no offense to the aunts and moms, but it's usually that area of like, they want to be in charge, you know, they've raised the kids, they've planned everything in their lives. They want to be super involved. And a lot of times when the moms are super controlling, and again, no offense to the moms, like their opinions don't match up or align with the couple. Like it's very different. They would choose different things, but then it's like, but then the parents are paying. So there's just like a really weird control dynamic issue that we run into, that we really do try to help diffuse, and at the end of the day, keep coming back to what was important to the couple, and focus on that and the decisions that you have voiced that were important to you. But just knowing, and another good thing to tell your planner, like knowing, hey, my mom, it's a lot,
and she's gonna, make this a more challenging process than maybe other parents. And that's so helpful for us to know, because we can walk into those meetings and those conversations being really well prepared, instead of being like taken aback.
Which, and again, I think too, that goes back to like what we always say, like having a professional planner that has done it. I mean, we have dealt with so many moms that honestly we become like best friends with. Like, I mean, there's one right now, which she's not really controlling, but she's very involved and has very strong opinions. And like, the bride does a pretty good job of kind of like working with it. But I think because I was aware of it now, like she comes to everything, we have a dynamic of like, okay, that's such a great idea. I hear you. But what I hear, the bride saying is, and just like having those professional, like smooth conversations, I think really helps the planning. And again, takes the pressure off the couple. And I don't know, I think just having like that professional planner who knows how to have those conversations is super helpful.
Yes, extremely. A real hot topic.
And then divorce dynamics, I mean, and that is also another thing in all our initial meetings is we always ask, like, is there any family drama, or is there like people that don't get along? And again, it's not for us to be nosy and get into it, but it is really also good for us to know, like, are your parents still married? Can they be in a same room together? Like, because we've had a ton where they cannot. Like, the mother of the bride doesn't even want the father of the bride to be sitting in the same row. Like, so I think divorce is like a big thing. Like, the parents don't get along. You know, one is like paying for more than the other, so one gets more involvement and gets more decisions. And it's just, I don't know, it's like such a tricky, hard dynamic.
It's so tricky. And it's like everything, I mean, planning wise, everything is involved with it. But then on the day of your wedding is where it like all comes to a head, because a lot of the time these people haven't seen each other, and then they have to be like, maybe you want a photo with your mom and dad.
Yeah.
And like, that's not something that people are comfortable with, or like their new spouses are uncomfortable with, or like there's so many things.
Like, where are they going to sit for dinner? Like, so I don't know. Which again, I think I could go down a tangent on this one, but it's like, I just think at the end of the day, like, it just makes me so frustrated when parents are like that, because it's just like, it's not about you. It's not about your divorce. It's not about what happened 10 years ago, like between you two. And so it's, again, maybe that's a conversation like you need to have with like your parents separately, and saying like, listen, I understand you guys don't get along. I understand that there were problems, but like, for one day, I would like you to just
suck it up,
agree to disagree, and smile on your face, and like, enjoy my wedding. Like, so I don't know. I mean, again, not everyone has that relationship with their parents, but I think, you know, and a lot of times I've seen a lot where it's like the mom is super involved, but doesn't like the dad. And so the dad's not like super involved. And the mom is very boisterous. Is that a word? To like her opinions on things and opinions about him. And so I think also, like, my parents are divorced, and I remember as a kid, like, having to tell my parents, like, I don't want to hear it. Like, don't tell me. And especially during the planning process, I think that's a big thing where it's like, we shouldn't be like bashing one parent over the other during planning. Like, it's just like, let's just like not bring the drama in. Let's just like
keep that out of your child's new marriage.
Right.
Please.
So I think having that conversation with your parent of like, Mom, I understand you don't like dad. He might not be your biggest fan either, but just saying like, I just need us all to like
get along,
squash it for now.
What do you need to like support you with this? Like, would it be better if we had a lunch or a coffee beforehand, just to make sure that like everything goes well and you guys can be on the same page and you can both walk me down the aisle?
Right.
Or like, what is this going to look like to put you guys?
Or saying like, okay, well, dad's going to walk me down the aisle, but I'll dance with you, Mom. Like, figuring out roles and how you can accommodate both of them, and saying like, okay, and they're going to be at separate tables at dinner, but they'll be at the two tables like closest to me. So I'll still be in proximity to both of you, but like, you won't be at the same table.
Yeah. Finding a role for everyone too. And like, this comes into play with like step parents. I know that like there's a huge, wonderful step parent dynamic typically. And that's like, they've been in their lives just as, you know, as long as they can remember, or things like that. And so it's like, also, if that's important to you, if your stepdad has been a huge impact in your life, like give him a role, like let him walk you down the aisle with your dad. We have a lot of people that do things like that too. And I think, again, with this, and part of the planning process is sharing that with them. Like, hey dad, like, I just wanted to let you know that Kurt is also going to walk me down the aisle with you. He's been in my life, you know, as long as I can remember. And this is why it's important to me. And I wanted to give you, you know, out of respect, the time to like process this and like know that this is what's going to happen. Cause we do run into this on rehearsal like night where people are like, what? Like, you're walking, you know, grandma down, or just different things that come up and they didn't know. And I think that a lot of that can be avoided in the planning process by just giving them a heads up. Hey, this is what's happening.
This is what we're doing. Yeah.
And if they're not comfortable, or they choose not to come, or they choose to take themselves out of that position, like, that's on them. But at least giving people a heads up of like, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that you're.
I think for sure, giving everybody a heads up. And like, your planner has the heads up. I mean, and it's nice for us too, because then if like the family doesn't know and we're running the rehearsal and we're telling people to do, and they're like, wait, what? I mean, we usually can handle it, but it is nice to just like, everyone is aware. So it's not like a big shock. Goes a lot smoother. Like, please just, like try to have those conversations.
Everyone.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I mean, when things are getting heated, like good, like practical scripts to do or say is like, we love that idea, but what we've decided is we're going to do this. And just, again, like we've always like keep saying, like, you don't have to be rude or like be disrespectful to your parents or whoever's involved, but just like acknowledging what they said, but us saying, but this is what we've decided to do.
Yeah. And be unified and don't blame it on one of the spouse.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Don't say it's like, wow, my significant other over here.
Yeah. Didn't like that idea. And then like you're bashing them or their plans too. Right. So it's like,
and it's causing drama between somebody's parent and your significant other. And it's just not.
Create one unified stance and keep with it. We're keeping this small is always an easy one, or we've hit our guest count limit. Kind of just some verbiage like that.
Yeah. We need to stay within budget. Like we're getting a little out of control here. Like we want to stay within budget. And I mean, again, we say it all the time, but like, again, it's so nice to have a planner who's like the third party, non-biased person who's like prioritizing what you want and what the couple wants. And I mean, I've had to do it so many times where it's just like, you know, like I said, it's like, I love that idea. That's so great. But what I hear she wants is this. So I think we're going to go this route, or just kind of bringing it back respectfully. And like, sometimes it is hard for couples to stand up to their parents in a way, and depending on the dynamic. So, you know, having that planner there, and just because we like to say, even if the parent is paying, we like to have that conversation too. And that's also why we ask who's paying for the wedding, making it very clear with our couples that like, that is so great that your parents are paying, but like you are who we are working for. Like
you signed the contract.
Yes. Like you are the one that we are reporting to, who's making the decision. So as much as that is great that they're helping pay, like our goal is to do what you want to do. So again, that needs to be a conversation that if you're hiring a planner and your parent is paying for everything, having that conversation with your parent, if they're very controlling and want to be involved, like that's so great. But at the end of the day, like the planner reports to me. You can't, like, because we literally have had parents pull us aside and be like, okay, no, she said this, but we're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, well, she, you know, trying to talk them out of it. And they're like, well, I'm paying for it. And it's like very awkward.
Very.
So please, I mean, and again, we always will continue sticking with the couple wants, but it's just really nice for everybody involved if you have those conversations early.
Set the expectation early with your family, with your spouse. Like you can prevent so much headache on a wedding day.
Yes.
And a wedding planning year by just starting out with like a really good structure of how you guys are going to make decisions and how you're going to deal with all of the emotions and drama that comes your way.
Yeah. So be a united front and expect those family dynamics to bleed into your wedding planning. So it'll happen.
And hire a planner.
Yeah.